Okay, so one topic that is very important is what to do when your ex is blaming you. You know, you have a client, the ex will blow up on the person that you coach. I want to see what's your take on this one when you see your client being in a situation when the ex will always blame and be very negative.
Yeah.
How do you help your clients?
Well, first and foremost, it's important to not try to engage an ex that is really, really, really emotional and negative. Sometimes we need to let the dust settle, right? And helping individuals to not be triggered, to not try to react and respond right away is very important. But ultimately, it's also important to learn to empathize and to validate. And when an ex is coming at you in that way, it means that they're really, really, really hurt and they feel misunderstood. And so how do we convey to this person that we hear them, that we understand, and that we're not trying to change their mind? We just are mindful of the pain that they feel. And the way that we're able to express that can vary, but ultimately that is the goal. Because if you are able to validate, well, there's nothing to argue or fight about. But what's been your approach with this question?
No, I love what you mentioned. You know, I wanted to take your input on this one because I see a lot of my clients, they come to me and they say, look, my ex is mad at me. My ex is very angry at me. And I think it's very important to validate the feelings of the ex, but I also tell them, look, you need to set boundaries. You cannot let your ex talk to you every single day about what you did in the past. You need to show that you hear them, but also that you have changed and you won't allow them to talk about it again and again and again. What do you think of this?
Yeah, a lot of times this happens when people are trying to force the issue, right? They're not controlling their own emotions, their own needs. They force contact and communication, and then their ex disrespects them in some ways. And that's not okay. And I agree with you that we need to set boundaries, right? We can basically create a dynamic that works for us. And really making sure that you are not seeking your ex's validation, that you are not, an emotional punching bag, depends on you and on your ability to manage your own fears and insecurities and need for approval. But a big founding principle of my approach is how are we creating conditions for our ex to choose us, right? And a lot of that is avoiding these common mistakes of settling for whatever our ex gives us and letting them disrespect us, because that, is not rebuilding a healthy foundation. Really.
You didn't mention the actions, like how can you prove that you won't do it again? How can you prove that this is part of the past? So how do you help your clients making sure that the ex know that there was some action? It's not just words, it's also real actions.
I'm so happy you raised this question. Ultimately, it's about new patterns of behaviors, right? The change needs to happen at the level of thought, at the level of words, and at the level of action. And so it's through actions, rebuilding a new pattern, right? Identifying the issue, the triggers, and then setting small goals to be able to develop new habits. Because ultimately your ex is not going to believe what you say. They're going to look at what you do in order to believe that something has changed and to be attracted to you again. But again, what has been your suggestions with what type of actions can you put in place to rebuild trust?